71% of the Earth's surface is covered with bodies of water, millions of miles of oceans, billions of species, countless untold stories. From the coasts of Japan to the coasts of Australia, let's sail through the stories of controversial sea vessels that have mysteriously disappeared. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 mysterious ships. "11 boats washed ashore." When the first North Korean boat washed up on the western shore of Japan, their Coast Guard was seriously alarmed. There have been 11 boats found over the years since 2017, and more information comes to light as to what happened to this mysterious fleet. The first few boats that ended up on Japanese coasts had decomposing human remains aboard. The boats have been called ghost ships. Some had markings indicating that it belonged to the North Korean fishing industry and a few to the North Korean army. One boat even had a tattered North Korean flag. Although there have been no reports from the North Korean government of any missing ships. In November 2017, a small boat carrying 8 alive men arrived at Yuri Honjo Marina. According to the passengers, they were North Korean fishermen who had gotten into trouble at sea. It was not long before the Japanese Coast Guard found another boat with 10 alive men who also claimed that they were North Korean fishermen. Both ships didn't have modern navigation instruments and engines. They were simple sea vessels that appeared to be rickety. One question which everyone was thinking when this story broke out was, can we believe what these guys are saying? There are a few theories as to why these boats ended up in Japan. Were these men, which were found alive, telling the truth? That they were indeed humble fishermen that just got lost in the sea? Another theory was that they were defectors or refugees trying to escape North Korea in hopes of having a better life in Japan. And others thought they were spies trying to retrieve information that the North Korean military can use as a tactical advantage against their enemies. Considering the data gathered by the Japanese Coast Guard, the closest explanation to this mystery has something to do with the North Korean economic system of quasi-capitalism. There have been stricter international sanctions following Pyongyang's nuclear and missile tests. This created a bigger demand for agricultural production, putting more pressure on fishermen to hit their target. What made matters worse for them was the North Korean government sold fishing rights to China, scaling down the area in which North Korean fishermen can venture out to. This pushed them to take greater risks by going further out to sea, so far that their small fishing vessels were not able to withstand strong currents, causing them to end up on the shores of its Japanese neighbours. Whether or not this is true, nobody knows, except for the few men that came back alive, all of whom asked to be returned to their country after they've been found by the Japanese Coast Guard. What exactly happened to the rest of the boats that came back with nothing but corpses? Are there going to be more ships washing up in Western Japan? The only certain thing in this story is that North Korea stays enigmatic about the whole issue. 11 boats and at least 20 of their men ended up in Japan, and the world heard nothing but silence from their government. The Zhang Singh. When you find an oil tanker sailing through a huge body of water, you would think that there is an entire crew manning it. This is not the case for the Zhang Singh. In 2006, an Australian Coast Watch airplane spotted this 80-metre oil tanker floating in the Gulf of Carpentaria in Queensland, inoperable and extensively stripped. Knowing that this area is notorious for illegal activities, the Australian Coast Guard immediately sent a team to inspect the ship. Ready to apprehend possible violators of international seafaring laws, the Coast Guard was surprised to find out that no one was aboard. There were no signs of anyone being on the ship recently, nor did they find any evidence of illegal activity. The Zhang Singh is believed to have been floating around international waters for a long time on its own, without a crew nor a captain to steer it in a certain direction. As the Australian authorities tried to discover what happened to this ghost ship and how it ended up in their territory, they took a closer look at the cargo. Surprisingly, it had nothing on it except a huge pile of rice. They believed that the ship was used to provide supplies for shipping vessels, but they found no evidence that could confirm that. The authorities were able to retrieve some documents stating that the name of the ship is the Zhang Singh, but this is not indicated on the exterior of the ship. Its name and other identifying marks were all completely painted over. Why would an unmanned and unidentified ship be floating around uncharted waters? Why did it contain an immense amount of rice? Who owns it and where did it come from? The Zhang Singh was found to have a broken tow rope. Considering that the ship was badly stripped down, the broken tow rope could mean that it might have been on its way to a scrapyard but did not make it. Instead, it drifted southwards and ended up in Queensland. However, this theory does not explain the large quantity of rice aboard and why its identifying features were all covered up. All that is certain about this ghost ship is that it had been sailing for an exceptionally long time. As to where it came from, what happened to it, and where it was headed to, this will forever be a mystery. The fate of the Zhang Singh was decided when no owner claimed it. Not long after it was discovered earlier in 2006, the Australian government determined that it is best to scuttle the ghost ship. Just like what usually happens with abandoned ships, to prevent it from being a navigational hazard, the Zhang Singh was disposed of on the morning of April 21, 2006. It was towed to deep waters and was deliberately sunk. MV Joyita. The almost unsinkable MV Joyita was found in poor condition and drifting near Fiji 5 weeks after it disappeared. It was partially submerged, but it wasn't sunk. However, by the time it was discovered, its 25 crew and passengers were all long gone, with the cargo and 3 life rafts. If you were one of the passengers, knowing that the ship you are on has a very strong structure, would you have risked sailing on a life raft in an open sea at night instead of staying aboard? The logical answer would be a resounding no. But what exactly happened that night? Nobody knows. It all started on October 3rd, 1955. MV Joyita left Apia Harbour in Samoa bound for the Tokelau Islands, which is about 270 miles away. It was originally scheduled to leave the day before, but it had an issue with its port engine clutch. It eventually sailed the next day running on only one engine. It had 16 crew members and 9 passengers, including 1 doctor. MV Joyita was expected to reach Tokelau in no more than 48 hours. It was supposed to arrive on October 5th, 1955. It was already a day overdue when the port of Whakauwha reported that MV Joyita never made it. No distress signal was received from the crew, which left everyone with no clues as to what happened. A search and rescue team was sent the same day, and for a whole week they tried to find answers, but they came back with nothing. It wasn't until November 10th, 1955, when the captain of another merchant ship sighted MV Joyita drifting 600 miles off its course. It was found slightly submerged and empty. All its passengers and more than 4 tons of cargo were all gone. Based on the remaining fuel, the ship made it about 243 miles on its course before the engine failed due to a pipe leak in the engine cooling system. The radio system was found to have been functioning, but only had a reach of 2 miles. Even if the ship had sent a distress signal, it would never have been received. However, this could have been easily fixed by one of the members of the crew. These findings create a deeper mystery surrounding the real events that happened that night. For decades, numerous theories have been suggested, but today we are going to focus on the 2 most controversial ones. The first theory accuses the Japanese forces of having kidnapped and killed the passengers of MV Joyita. The year 1955 was still around the time when Japanese forces were to blame concerning any sea vessel disappearances in this area. The MV Joyita might have witnessed something that they shouldn't have, which made them a target of a Japanese group. This would also explain the missing cargo, as it could have been transferred to another ship. The second theory has something to do with Captain Thomas H. Miller, the captain of MV Joyita. He knew that the ship was sturdy and could at least keep them all safe until the daytime. However, the evidence found on the recovered ghost ship proves that the passengers left at night. According to a close friend of the captain, knowing him, He would have never left the ship even if it cost him his life, and yet the captain was gone along with the rest of the people aboard. One of the most logical explanations for this could be that the captain was injured or somehow incapacitated. This theory has gained credence following the discovery of blood-stained bandages on the ship. But what do you make of these mysterious ships and how they went missing? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.